Hello and welcome to Precon Decon, the video series where I deconstruct the pre-constructed decks of Magic the Gathering's history. In this video we're going to continue our look at new Phyrexia. We're going to move on and look at Devouring Skies, which is a blue and black deck. I'm just going to say it's kind of a little frustrating. This is the third blue and black deck in the Scars of Mirrodin block. But even though, the color combination is the same, I feel like this deck is doing enough differently from the other two blue and black decks. So yeah, let's take a look at it and see. So as you might have guessed from the name of the deck, it's mostly blue-black flyers, honestly, and like other evasive creatures. So it's kind of like blue-black aggro, I would say, which is kind of interesting because it's not really a kind of deck that we see with these precons. Normally, blue-black decks are kind of slower and controllier. Yeah, so it's interesting to have something that's maybe a bit more like combat focused. So let's start looking at all these flyers. So we have a single Dark Slick Drake, 2 and 2 blue for a 2/4 flyer. When it dies, you draw a card. Yep, this is fine. I think it's perfectly okay. 2 Dementia Bats, 4 and a black for a 2/2 flyer, which is super expensive. There is no reason for this to be so expensive. And it has an expensive ability, 4 and a black, sacrifice it to make a player discard 2 cards. Now, you could say like, oh, it's expensive because it has this, pretty good abilities. Like, but to use the ability is expensive. Like, it doesn't need to be expensive itself. So, like, this is kind of a disappointing card, honestly. Just 5 mana for a 2/2 flyer is not wonderful in my opinion. And I suppose you could argue like, oh, it's in black and it's at common, and black doesn't have good creatures at this time of the game, and like, yeah, it's still, I don't know, it's just a bad card, I think. 2 Impaler Strikes, 2 and 2 blue for a 3/1 flyer. When it deals combat damage to a player, you can sacrifice it. If you do, draw 3 cards. That is pretty strong, in my opinion. So 4 mana for a 3/1 flyer is obviously fairly aggressive, like a fairly big threat in the air, obviously a bit frail. But I really like this, the dream scenario. If this gets through, doing 3 damage, and then if you need to, you just sacrifice it and also draw 3 cards. I think that's pretty good. And I don't know, I feel like an opponent would dedicate disproportionate amount to like make sure this doesn't get through, so you're dealing 3 and drawing the 3 as well. So yeah, I think it's pretty good, and common level as well. It's like no comparison, I think, to the Dementia Bat. I think this is pretty good, the Impaler Shrike. I have a single Necrogen Scudder, so 2 and a black for a 3/3 flyer, which is, this is a pretty good rate for black. When it enters the battlefield, though, you lose 3 life, which I think that's okay, actually. To be a 3/3 flyer for only 3, it's really aggressively costed. Yes, you lose the life, but you've got a fairly decently sized flyer for, a fairly discount rate, I guess. I suppose it's okay. 2 Spire Monitors, 4 and a blue for a 3/3 with flash and flying. This is okay, I think, just another fairly decently sized flyer. Having flash is quite nice, so it can serve as a surprise block, or you just drop it at the end of the opponent's turn so it's ready to go straight away. I think that's okay. And then 3 Hovermers, these are great, I think. So just 2 mana for a 1/2 with flying and vigilance. This is really good, I think. This is, for 2 mana, it's doing a lot, honestly. Yeah, I really like Hovermer. I don't feel there's really much else to say. It's just, I think it's really solid, really nice early gameplay that can just keep swinging. It's then around to block. Yeah, I think it's perfectly fine. I really like Hovermer, and it benefits from like quite a few cards in the deck, honestly. We have 2 Blind Zealots, so this doesn't have flying, but it does have Intimidate, so it's still like evasive in a way. So 1 and 2 black for a 2/2 has Intimidate. When it deals combat damage to a player, you can sacrifice it, and if you do, destroy target creature that player controls. So this is kind of a bit like Impaler Shrike, that if it gets through, hits someone, and then you sacrifice it for an effect. This is also a pretty good effect, I think. You're getting through, hitting for 2, sack, and then destroy just any creature. It's not like color locked, it's not like non-black or anything, or non-artifact or anything. It's just any creature. So I think that's pretty solid, honestly. Again, for like a 3-drop common, I think it's okay. Even if you don't need to do it, just it being 2/2 with Intimidate, I think is okay for 3. I have a single Neurok Invisimancer, 1 and 2 blue for a 2/1. It's unblockable, and when it enters the battlefield, another creature becomes unblockable till end turn. So I think this is like a really fun design. that like even when you play it and the turn, when it's sick for the turn, you're still getting a swing with like an unblockable creature. I think that's pretty fun. The thing is, like, a lot of the creatures in the deck are already evasive, so maybe unblockable. It's not maybe as necessary, but like it's your opponent can still have things that can block flying. So anything that lets them get through, I think, is perfectly fine. And then obviously once you've done that, then this is just sticking around to be a 2/1 unblockable, which I think is perfectly fine. And then 2 Augury Owls, 1 in the blue for a 1/1 flyer. When it enters the battlefield, scry 3. Yep, this is perfectly good effect. Just to look at the top 3, rearrange them, get rid of any ones that aren't going to help you. Yeah, Augury Owls fine, and also it's a flyer as well, which ties into the deck's theme. So one of the rares of the deck, and this is the foil face rare, is Phyrexian Ingester. So 6 and a blue, so super expensive. It's a 3/3. Has Imprint, which up until now has only really been showing up on the Mirren cards. So I think this might be the first Phyrexian aligned card that has Imprint. I might be wrong. I'm sure someone in the comments will correct me. But when it enters the battlefield, you exile a non-token creature. So it's a straight up just exile a creature, no limitations. It's just gone. And Phyrexian Ingester gets +X+Y, where X is the exiled card's power and Y is its toughness. I think also this might be one of the only cards in the game that has +X+Y. Obviously, lots of cards just do +X+X. I can only think of like one other card that uses Y, and I think that's it's like an ooze from like Ravnica. It does. I can't remember what it does. It does something again with like power and toughness. So yeah, this is kind of doing a lot. At 7 is obviously super expensive, but the fact it can come in, just eat a creature, and then it becomes super big is pretty fun. But yeah, it obviously doesn't have any evasive abilities itself, so it is just a big creature, I suppose. This has actually, I think, been dropped down to uncommon. last I saw, I think in like a modern set, like a master set or something like that. This is now uncommon, which I think feels right for it, honestly, because it's like a really impressive effect, but like it's not crazy strong. Like it doesn't have any other abilities. If it had like trample or I don't know, flying itself, then maybe. But it's just going to be a big beefy horror boy. So yeah. But yeah, I think it's okay for this deck, I suppose. Yeah. 2 Mortis Dogs, so 3 in a black for a 2/2. Whenever it attacks, gets +2/+0 turn to turn. This is kind of a theme, actually, I've noticed with Phyrexian dogs, because it reminds me of Hollow Dogs, which obviously it's meant to be, I think, a reference to. When Mortis Dogs is put into a graveyard from play, then target player loses life equal to its power. So this is pretty good, I think. The fact you can just kind of swing, if your opponent blocks it, then they're going to still like lose 4 life, potentially more if you like load it up with equipment, which there is a lot in this deck. So yeah, I think this is, again, like for a common, I think this is pretty good, honestly. Yeah, I like Mortis Dogs. I don't like Kiln Walker though. Kiln Walker is not wonderful. So 3 mana for a 0/3. Whenever it attacks, it gets +3/+0 to the end of turn. Just okay. So it's a 3/3 for 3, but only when it attacks. I suppose if you put it in a deck where like there was ways to get multiple combat phases, it could keep growing, but there's not in this deck. I just don't understand this guy. I don't understand the design of it. Like why make it this way? I don't know why make it like a 3 mana 0/3. I just I just don't understand. It reminds me of oh god, was it in M10 like Bramble Creeper, which is like 5 mana for a 0/5, but it gets +5/+0 when it attacks, and just like you could have just made it a 5/5 and it would be fine, I reckon. But anyway, so yeah, that I think that's an easy cut out of the deck straight away. A single Silvermare. No idea why we don't have a Leadmare as well, but we just have 1 Silvermare. And 2 Brass Squires, so this is pretty fun. So Brass Squire, 3 mana for a 1/3. Tap, attach target equipment you control to target creature you control, so you can just equip stuff for free and at instant speed, which is pretty good, because there is quite a lot of equipment in the deck. So yeah, Brass Squire I think is pretty fun. I would have actually really liked to see a reprint of this in All Will Be One, but yeah, we can't always have what we want. But yeah, I really like Brass Squire. I think it's pretty fun little card. So the other round of the deck, the non-new Phyrexia rare, is Argentum Armor, so 6 mana. Equipped creature gets +6/+6, which is huge, and whenever it attacks, destroy target permanent, which is also huge, but it is a very expensive. I mean, it's very expensive to cast and then very expensive to equip. But you have Brass Squire, then you're laughing. But yeah, this is like obviously just a big swingy game-ending effect, isn't it? Because you just put this on any creature, it immediately becomes a threat, and then you just keep attacking with it and just keep depleting opponent's resources, and even if they kill the creatures equipped to, it's fine. Just put it on something else and just keep attacking with a massively buffed up creature. So yeah, I think this is like a pretty big, dumb, fun rare to include. I think this is better than the Ingester, honestly. They're both very expensive though, really high mana curve, I think, in this deck. So we have a bit more equipment, which is not a theme we'd expect to see in blue-black, really. So a Copper Carapace, so 1 mana for an equipment. Equipped creature gets +2/+2 and can't block, so obviously you're leaning it to be on something that's super aggressive anyway. And equipped for 3. So yeah, it's fine. You play it early, equip it on one of your flyers, and then they're obviously just then a lot better, I guess. So yeah, this is okay piece of equipment. 2 Viridian Claws, 2 mana, equipped creature gets +1/+0 and has first strike and equip 1, so really nice, cheap equip cost. Giving first strike is always like a really good ability. So yeah, this is fine. And then 2 Warlord's Axe from M11, so 3 mana, equipped creature gets +3/+1 and equip 4, so this is overcosted in my opinion. Like it's really expensive to cast, really expensive to equip, and like all it's doing is just +3/+1, like nothing else really. So it's a little lackluster, but it's really all that's available for choice, I suppose. So we also have a pair of living weapons, which was kind of a theme in the last blue-black deck we looked at, the Doom Inevitable. So it's really nice as well that New Phyrexia had a few more like living weapon cards, including the infamous Batterskull. These are not as good as Batterskull, but they're still okay. So Necropouncer is 6 mana for a living weapon. So when it comes in, you make a little 0/0 token and the equipment goes straight on it, so it's effectively a creature when you cast it. Equipped creature gets +3/+1, has haste, so and it has only equipped 2, so it's really expensive to cast. There's a theme in this deck. For 6 mana for 3/1 haste is not worth it, obviously. But the fact it only equips for 2 is pretty good, I think. But obviously, you got to spend 6 to cast it. I think I would have preferred if this had just been evened out, like if it was 4 to cast and 4 to equip. I think that would have been okay. And then a couple of Sickle Slicers, 3 mana for a living weapon. Equipped creature has +2/+2, so it's a 2/2 when you cast it, and it's equipped 4. So I mean, it's very straightforward, just +2/+2. But like again, it's okay. The thing with these living weapons is they basically serve as creatures the turn you play them until you want to take the equipment off. So I think it's fine. And then we have 2 Vapor Snags. So this is basically Unsummon, but a little better. I suppose you could. There's always the moments when you want to return something to your hand, so maybe not better in that case. But all right, most of the time better than Unsummon. So a single blue mana, return target creature to owner's hand, and they lose 1 life. Yeah, perfect. Not only disrupting them, but also making them lose a little bit of life, which is perfectly fine for 2 mana, I think, and a single blue as well, really good. And then a single Doomblade, classic Doomblade. We all know what Doomblade does. And then 13 islands and 11 swamps. And like that's what I mean. Why was there not a Ledmer in here? Oh well. But anyway. So what could have been? The card selection here is kind of a bit wonky, in my opinion. I think it's okay, but I don't feel it's as tightly focused as the Artful Destruction one, the green-white golem one that we looked at in the last video. It's okay. It kind of has, it has a more basic theme, I suppose, just like blue-black evasive creatures and some equipment, which is fine. And I say it's nice that it's like blue-black aggro, which is not really, I guess, something we see. So I think this is okay. But there's some cards I think definitely should have been in here. Trespassing Soul Eater, I think, could have worked in here pretty well. So it's 3 mana for 2/2, and you can spend 1 blue Phyrexian mana to make it unblockable until end turn, which is, kind of exactly what the deck wants to be doing, is attacking with evasive creatures. Vault Scourge, I think, could have been possible here as well, because, it's got flying and it's got lifelink, and you can potentially cast it turn 1 if you want to take the hit from the Phyrexian mana, but if you don't, like 2 mana for a 1/1 flying with lifelink is also perfectly fine, and also goes well with all the equipment because you load up with equipment and then increases power and then you get more life from it, so that could have been fine. Alternate rare, I think instead of Phyrexian Ingester, I would have loved to see Chancellor of the Spires. this thing is great. Firstly, that artwork is pure Phyrexian goodness. But yeah, 4 and triple blue. For a 5/7, it's one of these Chancellors. There are a whole cycle of them. Has this really kind of unique effect where like you can reveal it at the very start of the game if it's in your opening hand. And if you do, at the beginning of the first upkeep, each opponent mills 7, which is just like, it's so good. Just like, all right, roll for turn. Okay, like, yeah, I'll keep this hand. By the way, you're starting off with 7 less cards straight away. Like, what? It's just really, really good, I think. And then it's like a big flyer. It's a 5/7 flyer. And when it enters the battlefield, you can just cast an instant or sorcery from an opponent's graveyard without paying its mana cost. So it's doing a lot for like 7 mana. But yeah, I think just for that potential of first turn, just mill them before anyone's even played a land, I think is just really fits like with the deck's theme of just being, blue black, super mean. So yeah, would have really liked Chancellor of the Spires, I think, instead of the Ingester. So in summary, this one's okay, I think. Out of the 3 blue-black decks in Scars of Mirrodin, I do think Dead Spread is like definitely the best one. I think this one is better than Doom Inevitable, because that one was kind of felt a bit all over the place. Yeah, I think this one is okay. But definitely out of all the new Phyrexia decks, this is like one of the weaker ones, because there are definitely better ones than this one. But yeah, it's okay. Like it's it's not dreadful. Like you could play this out of the box and it'd be absolutely fine because it's blue-black flyers, and yeah, that's absolutely fine. Evasive creatures and just attack until you win. Yeah, I think it's fine. But what are your thoughts on the deck after seeing it? Do you have any thoughts, stories, comments, opinions about the deck or any of the cards in it? Please stick a comment below. Always like reading those. But I'll be back next time to look at another new Phyrexia intro pack. But until then, thanks for watching and listening. Have a great day.